Oh, let me look. You should be.
Not talk.
You don't. Nothing's back here about it. Let me look at except the sound.
The sound.
Except the sound.
Okay, good.
We're good.
So
Okay, so we're going to
no.
Okay.
And rolling. Okay. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Congratulations on being a new honoree for the Walk of Fame.
Thank you.
And I guess my first question is, could you take me back to when you first learned that you were going to be this year's honoree? Like, how did you learn about it, and what was your first reaction?
I actually learned about it through a call from my tour manager, who was Earl Bryant, who was right over there. And he called me and told me that I'd been selected to be this year's honoree for the Walk of Fame from BET. And I was very excited about it because I'm a BET fan. See, I'm somebody who watches BET on a constant basis. And I know about some of the people that they've honored with this particular honor. You know, Stevie and Aretha and, you know, everyone. And so it's a joy to me because I'm going to be able to sit there and see all these wonderful people who I know and who I admire, and I'm a fan of theirs, sing my music. And so it's I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. It's interesting because Walk of Fame have honored a lot of musicians from Detroit. And again, here's another one from Detroit. And I want to talk to you about, before you met Berry Gordy and you were with the Miracles, you had a couple of records out on The End and Chess Records. Could you talk about when you first met Berry Gordy and how that was almost a turning point for you and the Miracles?
Okay, now I did not meet Berry Gordy before then. I mean, record those records before I met Berry Gordy. See, I met Berry Gordy when I first graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. And those records that you just mentioned, or those labels that you just mentioned, were labels that he recorded us, and we were on those labels because it was before we started Motown. Oh. You see, so we had a record on The End. The first record that we ever had out was on the End record label out of New York, but it was produced by Berry. And there was no Motown, so that's why we were on those labels. But eventually, nobody was paying us. So we figured we might as well just take a chance ourselves. And if nobody paid us, let it be us who wasn't paying us. But we started Motown because of the fact that the other record companies were not paying us what we thought we would do.
Could you talk briefly about the early days of Motown? You were there from the beginning. Like, could you talk about like the whole, how the recording sessions took place and how y'all chose particular songs for particular artists? Like, who got like My Girl and who got whatever songs? Like, how did y'all usher those out?
Well, I myself, when you hear one of my songs by another artist, I have written that song specifically for that artist. That's how I used to work it. You know, when you mentioned My Girl. I wrote My Girl because the first hit record that the Temptations ever had, when they first came to Motown, I had known Melvin and Otis from high school. And when they first came over to Motown, they were like assigned to me to record them. And so the first hit that I ever had on them was a song called The Way You Do the Things You Do, on which Eddie Kendricks sang the lead. And from that point on, all the producers and writers who were recording the Temptations at Motown used Eddie Kendricks' voice as their lead singer. However, I was aware that they had two more dynamic voices in that group, which were Paul Williams and David Ruffin. And so I wanted to write some songs for their voices to see if I could get a hit with them. So I wrote My Girl with David Ruffin's voice in mind and for him to sing. And that's how I always basically wrote my songs. I didn't write a song and say, okay, I think this song will be good for so-and-so and such and such. I say, I got to write a song for so-and-so and such, and then write that song.
Oh.
Yeah.
How did you get the stage name Smokey?
Smokey is not my stage name. They've been calling me Smokey since I was 3 years old. Okay. Yeah, Smokey was a name that was given to me by one of my uncles. And he named me that when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I always told people that was my name, so that's been my name since that time. So at least 20 years.
Now, I was reading up and I found out that you were the vice president for Motown in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you balance being vice president, a recording artist, and a major songwriter for that? Like, how did you balance all those acts and able to, like, thrive?
Well, because, see, I had been there since the very first day of Motown. And at first, there were only 5 people there, including Berry Gordy. And when we did our first records, we did everything. We took them to the radio stations, we boxed them up, we did everything, you see. So I was used to the operational part of it. And when I was made vice president, it was basically easy to balance because, first of all, I was doing something that I loved, and my office was to induct new talent and to coordinate their schedules once we signed them. And so that was not something that I didn't enjoy. I enjoyed every aspect of my work life. So that's why it was basically easy for me to do those things and not let it be a burden.
When you start, you were writing songs, and you start writing songs with the guitarist Marvin Tarplin.
Yes.
Could you talk briefly about him? Because I think he's like a name that, you know, generally a lot of people forget or like don't know as much as they should. Could you talk about him and talk about y'all's partnership in terms of songwriting and how y'all created some of these great hits?
Well, Marvin Tarplin is one of the most prolific musical people ever. And he's my guitarist, and he and I have been together since the days of the Miracles. Marvin joined the Miracles and me way, way, way back when. And his music has always been inspirational to me. When you see a song on a record label and Marvin Tarplin's name is on that particular song, then you know that he is the origin of that song. He had the music before there were any words, before there was anything. And he just plays music, and he puts it on tape for me. And I see if I can create a song around his music. So some of the songs like The Tracks of My Tears and Ain't That Peculiar and Going to a Go-Go and songs like that all started with Marv Tarplin's music. Cruising, you know. And we've been writing together for years, and we still do. He's still my main guitarist. And he, like I said, he's just a very talented musical person.
Wow, wow. Now, one of the songs that, like, people hear Smokey Robinson, one of the songs they immediately think of is Quiet Storm. And it became such a big hit, you know, it became the theme song.
Excuse me. Thank you.
For, like, Melvin Lindsay's radio show in Washington, D.C., WHUR, which became the Quiet Storm format. Like, were you surprised that the song took off so much in which it became a radio format? And could you talk about the first time you learned that it became the theme song and all of a sudden it was the Quiet Storm radio format throughout the nation?
Well, I'm very flattered by that. I mean, I thank Melvin for that too, because like you said, Melvin was the first one to have a Quiet Storm show. And Quiet Storm was my debut album to come back as a solo artist, because I'd been with the Miracles for all that time. And so Quiet Storm was my concept for myself when I was going to come back to be a recording artist and start to perform again and all those things like that, because I always felt like I was a quiet singer, and I was not like a robust kind of singer. I was a quiet singer, and so I wanted to, since I had been with the Miracles for all those years and we had accomplished so much as a group, I knew that when I came back, if I was going to come back and attempt it as a solo artist, that I was going to have to do something different with myself. So Quiet Storm was my concept for myself. And you're right, I never expected it to become a nationwide radio format, but it is, and I'm very proud of that.
Wow. Of all the records that you've recorded, artistically, which one has been the most challenging, like which you just had to reach beyond what you knew in terms of how to sing or songwriting, and you were really going for something higher than you'd ever done before?
I don't know, because I pretty much give my same effort to every song that I attempt to do, whether I'm writing it for myself or for someone else. But I would say that my current CD is probably, hello. I would say that my current CD probably fits that question more so than any others because it's the first time I've ever recorded a spiritual CD. And I have been writing those songs that are on there for about 14 years. Never planning on singing them myself because I know all the people in the gospel genre, just like I know in the secular one, you know, like Yolanda Adams and Kirk Franklin and Donnie McClurkin and the Winans and Shirley C. Oh, these people are my friends. I mean, I've known them for years. And so I call myself writing some songs for them. And I never got around to sending them the songs. And eventually, I guess the Lord just impressed upon me to sing them myself because many people may not know that I have the kind of relationship that I have with God. And so to let that be known musically, so I recorded them myself, and it's my first experience in doing something like that, and it's been really, really accepted well, and I'm very happy that people accepted it in the manner in which they have.
Great, great. That was going to be my next question. So I guess I can move on to, you have a frozen food line called The Soul in a Bowl. Could you tell me how that came about? And, like,
Well, there's a really good friend of mine. He's my brother, and his name is Leon Isaac Kennedy. He's an actor, and he's, made the penitentiary movies and movies like that, And he has been, since he got into show business, he started out being a disc jockey. In fact, he was a disc jockey here in Washington D.C. for a time. But when he got off into making movies and stuff like that, he was in that end of show business. I was in the music end, and we always talked about doing something that had nothing to do with show business. So he came to me with this idea about doing this food company. And we started with gumbo because we both love gumbo. And we started because, gumbo's been in my family forever and in his family. And there's some family stuff in there. Of course, we fine-tuned the recipe to what it is now that's in that frozen food box. And we also have red beans and rice. And we're coming out with some other food items soon. But it's called Smokey Robinson's The Soul is in the Bowl, gumbo and red beans and rice. And it's gumbo is an all-day dish. You don't just go in the kitchen and whip up some gumbo in a couple of hours. Gumbo takes all day or all night to make. And this is already ready for you. It's in the frozen food section. And it's in a bowl that's in a box. And it is absolutely great gumbo. Like I said, I love gumbo, and this gumbo is top-notch gumbo. And you take it home and you put it in your oven or in your microwave, or take it out of that bowl and put it in a pot if you want to, and warm it up for about 5-6 minutes, and you got some soul gumbo. And it is really doing great. We released it through the Albertsons food chain and the Safeway food chain, and we're making a deal with Kroger as we speak. And it's all over the country, and it's doing great.
I guess my last question is, what's next on the horizon?
Well, I'm beginning now to record my next secular album, and so I'm working on the songs for that, and most of them I have now, and I'm just getting that together and compiling, and I'll be in the studio very shortly, but I still have some dates that I have to finish up before I can full-fledged get in the studio, and that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A little bit more on why the Walk of Fame is happening. Like United Negro College Runners, I think some people forget that that's what it's a fundraiser.